Good afternoon, everybody. I am very happy to see you with us at the romantic Chateau Béla. I would like to welcome our remote speakers, Frank Smulders, Master of Wine, Elizabeth Gabay, Master of Wine, Simon Wolf, Georg Schweitzer, Lubor Mali, and last but not least, Maurizio Dante Filippi. I will explain. You will only see a photo of Maurizio because of some contractual rights. He cannot appear with a live video in this production. But anyway, we can hear him. So Maurizio, hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody connected? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will explain why have we met in this virtual space. Danube Wine Challenge is a project of wine competition, international wine competition, member of the Federation of major wine and major international wine and spirit competitions. And it is held under the auspices of International Organization of Vine and Wine, OIV. And due to Corona pandemic, the 2020 edition has to be postponed to 2021. But as we normally organize seminars, educational events, lectures, so we decided to move to virtual space and to make this kind of seminars online with our expert tasters. This is the Danube Wine Challenge virtual project, and today we have decided to dedicate to our space and our time to orange wine or amber wine. Because it was actually planned for this year's edition, and this is a very hot topic. And of course, thanks to our partner, the iconic wine glass producer, RONA, we will now introduce is the world premiere of the special orange wine glass. So this is what this event will be all about. Tasting wines. We have for you 4 Slovakian orange wines and 4 Austrian orange wines from Burgenland, as Wein Burgenland is our partner. And we will try to find out if a right wine glass is a necessity or if it's a luxury. So I would like to pass the word to Simon Wolf, the author of a great book. I recommend everybody who likes orange wine, or especially to people who don't know anything about orange wine yet, to read the book Amber Revolution. So Simon, hello, how are you?
Hello.
Okay,
good, thank you.
So can you tell us a few words about orange wine? Why? What is it? What do you think about it?
Yes, of course. I think this is a term that confuses a lot of people, or people argue about the definition. But for me, it's very simple. So what I'm calling orange wine, some people prefer to call it amber wine or skin contact white wine, is simply the wine that you make from white grapes, where you ferment with the skins. And obviously, this is a very traditional practice in many parts of the world, especially in Central and Eastern Europe and places like Georgia. So that's all it is. I think some people say, orange wine has something to do with natural wine. I'm always very clear about the difference, because natural wine for me describes an overarching philosophy that can include any wine style. When I talk about orange wine, for me, it's a technical term. So skin fermented white wine, that's what we're talking about today. Super exciting kind of category in wine these days, I think, because more and more winemakers are realizing just how much flavor there is in the skins, flavor and aromatic compounds that you simply wouldn't get in wine made from white grapes if you just fermented them off the skins. And this is going to be a really exciting tasting today, because if there's two parts of the world that I think are really showing a great deal of skill and are showing how exciting their regions can be for orange wine, and there's certainly Burgenland and Slovakia. So many great orange wines coming out of these regions, distinctive styles, distinctive fruit profiles. So really looking forward to the tasting today, and hopefully in these new glasses it's going to showcase just how exciting these wines are and just how varied and wonderful the colors are. I mean, look at that, it's beautiful, isn't it? So yeah, orange wine in a nutshell, and looking forward to the tasting. And as Edita said, you can find out more about the history of it and why we all kind of forgot that this style existed in this book. I think that's enough for now, Editor. Is there anything else you want me to say?
Okay, thank you very much for the beginning. And does anybody else want to add something to the definition of orange wine, or to the style in general? Yeah, anybody? Okay, so I would just like to add that for me, coming from Central Europe, this is not just the traditional style of Georgia, like many people think, because we here in the east of Slovakia, as well as in the northeast of Hungary, we have a special region producing Tokaj wines that technically could be considered orange wines, because normally they ferment with whole grapes or with botrytized grapes, and we have a very similar style also in close to Bratislava. The name was Svetojurský Samotok. And we have a very similar style close to Lake Neusiedl in Austria, in Burgenland, Rusterausbruch. Although the Austrian winemakers, or especially the winemakers from Rust, don't like this comparison. But technically, this is a very ancient style. So that's why we don't consider orange wines as a new trend, something funky that we are not used to it, because we really know this style. And normally all over the world, I mean the old world, usually wines were fermented with skins, either white grapes or red grapes. So this is a remark from my side. What about you? Would you like to comment anything? Okay, so if not, I would like to ask Lubor Mali from RONA to explain us why RONA is producing more and more wine glass, or the stemware especially, machine-made, and especially the line that is called handmade by machine instead of mouth-blown. So we will see also a video comparing the differences, and Lubor will explain us something about that. Lubor, please. Okay, so in the meantime, because we have a technical problem with Lubor, I will pass the word to Maurizio. Maurizio is the best sommelier of Italy in 2016 and he was asked by RONA to design a new product line, Linea Umana. So Maurizio, can you explain us about your idea? What is behind this Linea Umana?
Yes, yes, Edita. Good evening to all. It's a pleasure for me to speak about my creation because I'm the professional sommelier in Italy, but we are the teacher in the school for sommelier and in the academy for the high-level restaurant service. And in 2018, I was contacted by RONA for an interview to ask me what I think about the current situation of wine glasses in the world. And I told them that too many glasses were constructed to be beautiful, but not for to enhance the sensation of the wine. This is a big problem for the restaurateur. And over the years, the structures of wine have changed. Also, the habits of the people who drink wine have changed. Meanwhile, the wine glasses has not adapted to the habits of the people, but above all, the evolution of the wine. Because of this, I spent more than 10 years studying the development of the aromas in different shaped glasses at different temperatures and above all, pairing with food. For this, I designed glass shapes that were soft in the sense, is very touchable shape, that they didn't oppose it at the movement of the wine and permitted a movement which allowed better development of the aromas. 7 glasses for wine. In this photo we are only 6 because the new creation is the old creation, but the new product in the market is the glass that we present today for the orange wine. 7 glasses for wine that cover every kind of wine except the sweet wine, and 2 tumblers for water, because the water is very important. 1 for the still and 1 for the sparkling water. In this way, restaurateurs have the possibility with 1 line, the special glass, to have an elegant and efficient table. In particular, today, if we have the photo of the orange wine glasses, thank you. And in particular today, these glasses are close to my heart because for the first time we have glasses dedicated to orange wine. I always thought about the importance of the orange wine in the world. For the first time, for the story, and for the great capacity to be tested in combination with many important foods. And for this, I put a lot of work into the design of this glass. A form of this glass, a shape is small and round, which permits the orange wine to develop its aromas, but whilst not permitting the volatile aromas or the particular acidity to develop and arrive for arriving to the nose of the people. This is the reason of it is the only glass in the Linea Umana that doesn't push the aromas up. It's the one glass very rounded, and the particularity of the body of the orange wine is to find all of its expression in this shape. We have done, for the Linea Umana generally, we have done many public tests in 2 years, and where we did a comparison of the same wine in Linea Umana glasses and not a regular shape wine glass chosen another people. And every time the wine in the Linea Umana glasses received between 3 and 8% more in the evaluation. This is a great satisfaction for us, for RONA, because RONA made a very special glass, very light and with the big potentiality for the use in the restaurant, because is safe wash machine and for the transparency. And I'm very happy to have the possibility to present this today.
Okay, thank you
and
very
much. And to test without we
are going to taste.
Special guest.
Yes, but thank you very much, Maurizio. We will now taste the wines, but in the meantime, if you have any questions for Maurizio, anybody from the speakers? Yes, Simon, please. We cannot hear you. Nie počujeme Simona.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, okay,
Maurizio, compliments on your work on this glass, because it certainly works really, really well, and I've taken great pleasure in giving it a trial with some of my favorite orange wines over the last few weeks. The only thing that surprises me, I mean, it does have a very, very tall stem, and I just wondered, could you say something about the idea behind the tall stem?
Yes, the stem for me is the element for the elegance, but for the good touch, good touch of the glass, because in this matter the glass is not for the verticality of the aromas, but in the same time we have the glass that help the people to arrive at the nose. I think that this is the very, very elegant form, but the very it's important to the shape for the taste.
Thank you.
Lubor, now I would like to ask Lubor to explain that, because some people who can see this glass may have doubts about the balance of this glass. It means the bowl, the stem, and the base. So I am sure that the designers of RONA have designed the final form of this glass so that it could be stable and still very elegant when you move the wine, when you observe the color, and then when you smell and taste the wine. So, Lubor, can you tell us something?
Edita, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. So I changed my headphones. Sorry for the trouble. So now we are online. So
yes, and fine. We can put the video in the background. And Lubor, yes, can you please explain us what is special on RONA glasses and why this shape is so stable?
Yes, sure. Well, basically, the purpose of the video, what we see on the picture right now, is to demonstrate that RONA, as one of very few manufacturers of glassware these days in the world, still can make the glass by the traditional rustic way of handmade production, and at the same time by very progressive method of machine-made production. What we are trying to do for a long period of time is to get our machine-made production as close to the handmade execution as possible. And the Linea Umana, which we talk about today, is the best way for us to do it. This is the best what we can achieve so far. What we see here is that the glass is made both by hand on the left hand side and by machine on the right hand side. Of course, you will see a lot of flame during the time and some water also, but generally speaking, what we make on the both by hand and by machine is glass which is made of one piece. This is something quite unique in the world, and we are proud to be able to deliver to our customers glassware which is made in one piece, makes it very flexible, very resistant to breakage, and also very pure, because we make all the glasses using only crystalline, which is lead-free crystal. Now on the left hand side you can see how the stem is being pulled by hand, and on the right hand side you can see the same thing made by machine. Of course, the glass starts as two-piece glass, but it gets one piece during the production process when the footplate and the stem are fused together. Now it's perfectly seen how the stem is getting longer and longer. Then, when the glass is produced, we need to put it into the cooling furnace to release all the stress. And after it comes out of the cooling furnace, the excessive part of the glass is cut away. Then ground and flame polished to perfection. Eventually, every glass is inspected by sophisticated system of cameras, and of course also by people, and delivered to the customers. What we really achieved recently is that we got the pulled stem execution on machine so close to execution. The glass is so fine, so flexible, that it is really difficult even for the professional to tell the difference between the handmade production and machine-made production. And eventually, this ability inspired us to start a cooperation with the best Italian sommelier of 2016, Mr. Maurizio Filippi, because we felt the opportunity to present to the market glass which is special, which is unique, which nobody else can make in this execution so far. And Maurizio took this opportunity to the stage where we are today, and we are able to present Linea Umana to our partners and to our customers.
Okay, thank you very much, Lubor. I hope everybody could see how the machine, the state-of-the-art machines, high-tech technology that RONA uses, can mimic the mouth-blown glass. Well, we are living in a world where the manual craftsmanship is disappearing. Simply, people are not ready to continue these artisanal techniques, and of course, the price of mouth-blown glasses is sometimes kind of 5 times or even more, even higher.
This is, Rita, this is a very good point. Actually, the main driving idea behind putting the handmade production into the machine-made world was to be able to offer the ultimate quality to the customers for reasonable, affordable prices. Apparently, the output of a machine, even if it runs slower for this kind of execution, is much higher than output of any handmade production.
Sure, yes. I can
Edita,
say...
Edita, sorry.
Yes, please.
Sorry,
Maurizio?
can I say something else
Sure.
about the question of Simon? Because
Yes.
I forgot. The height, Simon, and the base serve also they compensate and to balance the weight of the wine when you put into the mouth. No, there are many producers who make very light glasses, but when you drink, all the weight goes to the mouth. Okay, the eater is for this for the also for this for the balance the weight of the wine in the glass in the shape.
Sure. Yes. Sure. We can now proceed to tasting, unless anybody has a question or a remark to the glass issue, or we can come back to it later. If not, we can proceed to the tasting. What do you think? All the speakers? Yeah, do you agree? Okay. So now we will taste 4 Slovakian wines that I hope you can see it, yes, on the screen. Slovakia is a young country. So less than 30 years old, never existed politically, but it is still a very old winemaking region. So the history is more than 3,000 years old, that on the territory of Slovakia, vines as plants were used for wine production. So where Slovakia is, you can see this very tiny green point in the map of Europe. This is Slovakia, exactly in the heart of Europe. You can see the neighboring countries. So, and you can see our brother country, Czech Republic, that we split it, unfortunately, but okay, this is the history, we have to live with it. And now you can see a little bit, you can have the idea about Slovakia, the climate, the conditions. So we are in Central Europe. It means very typically continental climate, no Atlantic or Mediterranean influence. It's very cool climate zone, although the temperatures during summer can be very high. And as you can see, the southern border of Slovakia is green and the other part is more brown. So this is a very mountainous country, and the green part at the border, it's exactly the wine growing region. And maybe you have seen a very funny picture on the internet lately that the COVID map of Slovakia was exactly, I mean, the most affected regions were the ones where wine is not produced. So this is maybe the explanation how COVID works. So now come to the more serious point. Wine growing regions of Slovakia are at the border of Slovakia, usually as extensions of the neighboring wine growing countries. So it means with Czech Republic, Morava, Austria, especially Burgenland, then Hungary, it's Nesme, and the other northern regions up to Tokaj wine region. We have kind of 19% of the big Tokaj, and then the eastern part on the border with Ukraine. So this is the wine growing area of Slovakia. And as you can see, we have 6 wine growing regions. And in total, you can see some figures and dates. We are a very small wine growing country, very small wine producing country, but only in the terms of shape, because the Slovakian wines used to have very famous reputation during the medieval ages as Upper Hungary or Upper Hungarian land, wines. So we are producing 3/4 of the production are white wines and the rest are red wines. And it is very similar, the traditions and grape varieties to all the neighboring wine growing countries. So let's taste the wines. Everybody is ready? I would like to present the first wine, wine number 1. And this is the wine that is coming from the region that is on the border with Austria. And it is actually a very magic place because it is Děvín. And Děvín, it's a symbolic castle of Slovakian nation. It's on the confluence of river Danube and river Morava. And you can see at this picture the country that is in the background is already Austria. And this winemaker, very young winemaker, is working with his colleague from Morava in a project 7 Rows. And he's producing natural wines, and I like very much his orange wine that we are going to taste as a first Slovakian sample. Very young wine. The name is 7 riadkov, which means 7 rows. Quevri, 2019. The producer has decided to make 100% Grüne Veltliner or Veltlinska Zelena in Slovak. This is the most planted Slovakian white grape variety. And you can see the bottle. Very nice, very chic. And you can see the wine in the special orange glass. All the tasters are tasting. We can have the technical details, please. Yes. So I'm not going to repeat all the information, but I just wanted to say that this producer is using biodynamic techniques, not certified yet, of course, but I really like his approach and his philosophy to work with nature and to try to bring the force of the nature of this magical place of the vineyard that has an ancient Austrian name, Goldeck, which means golden golden ankle. We can see, and it is the wine that was recently bottled, so it has all the freshness, all the pungency of an orange wine. And yesterday I pre-tasted the wine, so I really would like to hear the opinion of our remote tasters. For the first wine, I would like Frank Smulders to comment on your tasting experience. What do you think about the wine and how it works with the glass?
Well, first of all, about the wine. It's very interesting because obviously I think in the nose you would not easily recognize the Grüne Veltliner. You sort of get more of this sort of general, slightly, I don't know, phenolic smell that you would associate with a good orange wine. But on the palate, actually, there is a fruit component that is really very clearly Grüne Veltliner. And then in a rather maybe a more full-bodied style, but then when you get to the finish of the wine, all of a sudden you get a sort of uplifting freshness and the saltiness, which actually makes you want to try the wine again. And of course, there's also a light tannic influence and sensation, but again, that is giving length to the wine, and it makes the wine. It makes you want to take the next sip. Let's say it like this. It's really a very, very well done expression of Grüne Veltliner. I think in terms of the glass, I think it does very well show in the nose. The glass is very helpful in showing the aromas. It's not pushing it too far. It's in a very balanced way. And after that, I think in tasting, but I'm not sure if the glass plays a very important role in that. But you know, with the length of this wine, I think altogether the glass works very well. I've tried a few of the wines with other glasses just to compare, and I have to say that each time I found that the orange wine glass did a slightly better job. So well done for that.
Anybody else would like to comment on this wine? Add something? How did you like the wine? Okay, so yes, Simon, please.
Something I find really interesting about this is how different Grüne is in the Slovakian wine regions compared to Burgenland or the Weinviertel. I mean, it's quite fascinating to me, and actually, I would say that maybe Grüne is not one of the most popular varieties for skin fermenting in Austria, whereas in Slovakia it seems to have quite a tradition building up with this now, and it just has this amazing nervous energy. I think, as Frank pointed out, this really thirst quenching acidity. It's kind of light and energetic and full of tension, and yeah, I find it fascinating just to note the differences between these two neighboring regions.
Yes, I totally agree. I just would like to add that, yes, Georg, please.
Yeah, coming from Austria, so I have to comment on the Grüne Veltliner, and I fully agree with Frank that on the palate it's exactly Grüne Veltliner, and for me it's this tension from the acidity, but it's as well the spiciness in the back, which reminds a little bit about pepperiness, which we normally look after, especially in Grüne Veltliner from the lower Austria area, not from the Burgenland area. And the Grüne Veltliner, the skins can be quite thick, and this is a very good thing for orange wine production, I would say so.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. I made my tasting notes. I just wanted to add that for me it was very floral in combination with citrus, this pungency and spiciness and the phenolics, and for me the chamomile in combination with black pepper was really the telltale of Grüne Veltliner expression, which is quite similar to what we can get from Austria as well. But this floral character is very typical for Slovakia. Yes, for me, a very good example of Veltlínske zelené in Quevri, which is great approach. So we are going to take... Yes? Yes, please.
Edita, sorry,
yes.
I haven't a video. And I think that this wine is very interesting in the equilibrium. Because
yes.
In the first time is the very dry, the very fruity, but in the final the acidity and the salted wine is good, but is also is not too persistent, but the mouth is very clear, is very clear.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah, thank you very much for this remark, Maurizio. I have to say, maybe you cannot see me that well. If anybody else can raise the glass, this wine is cloudy. Yeah, it's not clear. It's unfined, unfiltered, which for me is a great. Yes, now you can see it. It's the great expression of the wine, even if you can see this cloudiness, because it's very natural. You get all the essence of the wine into your glass and then into your mouth. So, but then you have the taste and smell that is very clear and clean, and this spiciness and acidity, it's very typical for this type of wine. So now we can taste the second wine. And we are coming to South Slovakia, very close to the place that we are now actually. We are now in Béla, very close to Šturovo, which is a border city with Hungary. And this village is Strekov, which is kind of 20 minutes from here. And this wine I have selected as the second sample is coming from a family winery, a Kašník, two brothers, Tamáš and Gábor, and I have selected orange Rizling. But this is a Welsh Rizling. In fact, it's the second most planted Slovakian grape variety in terms of whites. It's the vintage 2018, and it is, for me, it is a very unusual and very natural expression of Welsh Riesling that for me is aromatically something that I haven't expected. Maybe it's also thanks to the glass that, as Maurizio said, the bowl that is very round and very narrow on the rim can concentrate and gather all the aromatics. So it is giving the wine the multi-layered expression. It concentrates the aromas, and the aromas are also coming directly to the palate when you are tasting the wine. But especially on the nose, for me, it was something that I was so pleasantly surprised when I tasted the wine, that it was really concentrated, floral and honey and ripe exotic fruits, something that was really a surprise for me. So you can see now the information about the winemakers, about the wine, about the technology. So it is a skin contact wine, but in difference to the previous sample, this one was aged on lees in used oak barrels. So when you taste the wine, you can feel the phenolics from the skin contact, but also the oak influence. But in the terms of viscosity, for me, it is very silky and very fluent, very round. And still, you can feel well integrated wood into the wine, and for me still needs some bottle aging. So what do you think about this wine? I would like Georg to start, because Welsh Riesling is very important in Burgenland. What do you think about this wine, Georg?
Yeah, as you said, Welsh Riesling is quite important variety. In Austria, it's the second most planted in Austria, and especially in Burgenland. Here is on equal part with Grüner Veltliner. What I like on this Welsh Riesling is the typical thing what you always look for in Welsh Riesling. It's the acidity. It's a really citric, refreshing acidity on this wine, together with this exotic flavor, which I normally just find in a more sweeter style of Welsh Riesling in Burgenland area, like botrytis wines with Bernauslese or Welsh Riesling from Welsh Riesling variety. So it's the freshness of this grape provided by the acidity, together with the exotic, quite loud impression on the nose, which I think is supported by the glass as well. And what I like most is the very long and elegant finish, which really gives you an indication of, I want to get a second sip immediately on this wine, because it's so refreshing and very nice for drinkability.
Okay, thank you very much, Georg. Anybody else would like to say anything? Yes, Frank, please.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by this wine. I have to say that I'm always very curious about Welsh Riesling. You find it in so many places in Central Europe, and of course, traditionally, that's not the right word, but in the past, too much quite dull wine was produced out of Welsh Riesling, and then every now and then you come to a wine, you think, you see, there is more to this variety. But this wine is really showing a potential of the variety that I didn't really know of. It's almost perfumed in the nose, actually. It's wonderful. After that, the structure of the wine is just as Georg just described. You know, there's a freshness to the wine, there's length to the wine. You want to try it again. But this is really a fascinating expression of Welsh Riesling for me. Really, very well done.
Yeah, thank you very much. Frank, I would like to ask Elizabeth, although she has not received the wines because she was supposed to be somewhere else, but she visited together with me this winemaker 2 years ago and last year, and she knows quite well his style. So just a small remark on what you think about this winemaker.
Yes, no, I mean, it was a really good visit, tasting through all the wines. But as editor knows, I'm a great fan of Ola's Riesling, Welsh Riesling. So I was very tempted. But looking through my notes from when we last visited, I got the floral character, we just had a normal wine glass, but didn't get so much exotic fruit. We tasted the 2016 vintage. And they also have a skin contact wine with only 4 days, I think. So they play around with a number of different lengths of skin contact. So very interested that the floral character is coming through more on this glass, which is quite exciting. Gives it full Ola's Riesling character coming through.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Simon, what do you think? Have you tasted many Welsh Rieslings yet? What do you think about this expression?
Yeah, I've tasted a lot of Welsh Rieslings actually, and those who know me, they're always joking with me because I used to live in Burgenland for about a year, and I used to tell everyone that I hated Welsh Riesling because I thought it was such a dull, neutral variety. And then I realized that that's because most people throw away the best bit. And if ever there was an advert for skin fermentation, then this is it, because I think it really shows you all those fascinating flavors and aromas that are missing without the skins. And I think Welsh Riesling it doesn't have a lot in its juice, in its flesh. It really needs the skins to be able to express the character that it does have, and that certainly comes out loud and clear in this wine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Can I come back on that,
Rita.
editor?
Sure, please. Elizabeth and Georg. Yes, Elizabeth, please.
It was just to say, I mean, editor and I did a full Ola's Riesling masterclass 2 years ago now. And what was interesting was that all the producers who used slightly more historic skin contact really showed its benefits. So I don't know whether we should start saying Ola's Riesling should be more in an orange style glass, because there are some that aren't maybe orange wines but have slightly more skin contact. Be quite interesting to see if it shows more character in those wines.
Yeah.
Not just the full orange wine.
Yes, I agree with you. Georg, you wanted to add something?
Yes, with regards to the Welsh Riesling, which we normally do get. So we have to think about that the normal Welsh Riesling is harvested quite early. So we're talking about 11.5, 12.5 ABV on those wines. So the fruit flavor is not that developed. And this wine is 13.5. So there you can see that Welsh Riesling can deliver quite fruity wines. But if you do it in a certain style, with the fresh wine for daily consumption in stainless steel, then of course the fruit is not up front. I think this is the main difference between the styles of the wine.
Yes, I agree. For me, I was quite surprised that when I was reading now my tasting notes from yesterday, it was exactly what Frank was saying about the wine. And I have to ask the winemaker, because I think it may be a little bit noble botrytis in these grapes during the harvest, because I can very pronouncedly feel this honey, spicy botrytis aftertaste. But it might be just because of the skin contact and wood. But what I would like to say, that really for me, this glass works great for this kind of Welsh Riesling, because it really gathers all the aromatics. And this is what we should say, as Liz already said, that we have to choose a right glass to be a correct loudspeaker of the wine, for example. Okay, so...
Thank you, Edita. Can I say something?
Sure, Maurizio. I was expecting you to say something. Please.
Yes, no, excuse me, but this, for me, this is the glass, the wine that I thought, this is my thought, because in this wine, the glass has an important role, because we have a little pungent note, but the glass permits the wine to arrive immediately in the sides of the mouth and enlarges the base, the body of the wine. And this is the example that I had in my thought. This wine, for this wine, the glasses is very important.
Yes, sure, I agree with you, sure. So,
if I may,
yeah.
I would like to add one more note to this.
Yes, please.
Considering the fact how trendy the orange wine is becoming these days, it is kind of surprising that, as to my knowledge, RONA has been the only manufacturer making one special glass specifically for the orange wines.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, yes. So congratulations. Okay, we pass to the third sample.
Thank you.
Yes. So this, the third sample that is coming to us, I selected especially to show another kind of approach, and this is an oxidative way how to make an orange wine. And it's coming from the very specific region of Slovakia, the Tokaj wine region. And this is a wine that the winemaker, you can see on the screen, Matúš Vdoviak, he told me when I visited him this summer that the biggest mistake that any winemaker can make is that he's not patient. That any kind of good wine needs patience. And I agree with him. You can see the historic cellars where the wine ages. You can see the vineyards. You can see the hills of Hungarian Tokaj at the background of the vineyards of Matúš. And I would like to present you the wine that he calls Ordinarium 2017. And it's a cuvée 50-50, 50% of Furmint and Lipovina, or harsh levelű in Hungarian. And it is a real expression of the volcanic bedrock and slightly calcareous clay, loess soils, and the special microclimate of Tokaj region. And the approach is that Matúš says it's the approach that normally, historically in the region of Tokaj, wine was produced in contact with skins and the oxidative way. So this is the classical way how to produce Tokaj. I don't want to comment as the first speaker, not to influence you, but really I wanted to show a very different style of orange wine. So I would like to ask Simon, as the first speaker, what do you think about this expression of orange wine?
Yeah, this is fascinating. This is a new producer for me. It's not a wine I've ever tasted before. It's mind-blowing. I mean, I didn't know what to think the first couple of sips, but I can really see the link to Tokaj. It's got the most amazing concentration, but also the most amazing acidity, and this sort of, it's something like marzipan, really. It's got a little bit of that bitter orange marmalade thing going on as well. But I think, if anything, because although this has that kind of Tokaj-like energy and acidity, it's really bone dry on the finish, and that's almost taking me in the direction of a sort of a dry Oloroso sherry or something like that. It's really got that kind of depth and complexity to it. I mean, yeah, wow.
Yes, sure. It was just my impression when I tasted this wine that it reminded me to Amontillado Pasado, Oloroso, really, but lower alcohol. Yeah, it is this expression, but you can even feel this yeasty character of flor that was killed afterwards during the process of aging, and this pungency and these oxidative notes of walnuts, honey, dried fruit. This is something you would not expect from an orange wine, but it is an orange wine. I always say Tokaj wines are in fact orange because they have orange color, as you can see. And for me, this brandy nose, very floral and very appealing, heady perfumed, is something that is really perfectly gathered in this bowl, in this shape of the glass, and it is coming directly to the palate and makes the wine to be very, very long. This is my impression from the tasting. What about the rest of the tasters? What do you think? Yeah, Frank, please.
I have to say that again, the wine works well for the glass because I have to say it's not my favorite wine. I find it a bit difficult, but and what I do not like so much about it is actually what you describe as a brandy character. I think it is indeed, in the nose it smells a lot like brandy, but the good thing is that the glass seems to lift the sort of overripe concentrated fruit aromas that are still a bit on the background. So it's helping the wine to be more than just oxidized and brandy-like. On the palate, it's extremely rich and concentrated, true. In first instance, I found it a bit heavy. But I have to say then you notice the acidity, and the acidity is really like, I would almost say the acidity is saving this wine. It's the acidity that at the end brings a balance in the wine and gives length to the wine. Nevertheless, I will say it again, it's not my favorite. I find it a bit too oxidative in the style and too much brandy-like, but that's a personal thing.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Georg, what do you think about this wine?
Yeah, so I'm with you on this one. Especially the acidity is the let's say one of the cornerstones of this wine. And just thinking back about the three wines we tasted so far, the two ones, so the Welsh Riesling and then now the Foreman with the Aslevelu, having a higher acidity level, looks to be really, really good for this shape of glass, because those wines shine the best. And for me, I can understand it's a difficult wine because of this nuttiness from the oxidative style, but I personally like it. I think it's really, really well done, and it's a controlled oxygen influence on this wine for me.
Okay, yeah, fine. Anybody else would like to comment on this wine? Or we can pass to the last sample from Slovakia. Okay, so wine number 4. We are coming to the small Carpathians administratively, but actually it is a little bit out of the concept of small Carpathians. This is the farm that is close to Hlohovec, and it is a family project of Misho Kurobka, his wife, his sister and her partner, and they are really producing wines that express the philosophy. Slobodne means free, and this is the free concept how to make wine. And I would like to present a special wine. The name is Cutis Deviner, and the vintage is 2016. And I just would like to add, before we come back to the wine, that this is the wine that Simon, the author of Amber Revolution and the contributor to Decanter magazine, he has put 90 points to this wine, and he selected the wine, one of the 30 best orange wines. So this is for the first time for any Slovakian wines to appear in this in Decanter. So thank you very much, Simon. And now come to the wine. This wine is not on the market anymore, so this is from the private collection of the family. And for me, as you can yes, the technical information. So for me, what is important is the composition between Traminer, red Traminer, and Devin, which is the original Slovakian crossing. And it, as if you remember, the first wine we tasted was from the village Devin, which is the symbolic place for Slovakian nation. So the name of this variety, for me, is also very symbolic, because if you read it in French, the vin means it comes from wine. And it's nice because in any language you can express the name of the variety. But what is more important, it is a variety that combines the character of Traminer with something that is a surprise, with muscat. So people who taste the wine for the first time, they are very pleasantly surprised of the aromatics of this wine. And this is the only aromatic variety from the Slovakian part that I have chosen for this tasting, because I think it is quite interesting to work with aromatic grape varieties for skin contact white wines. So you can see the technical details, and I would like to comment on this wine. Excuse me, I would like Simon to start, because you really tasted this wine some time ago. So what do you think now about the wine?
It's really interesting. I think as it's maturing, it's bringing out more of those kind of spicy, gingery qualities. So when it was younger, you had more the feeling of these very, very fresh herbal, aromatic, certainly Traminer-like things going on the nose. It's just full of ginger today, and it's this sort of almost gingerbread, but it's not really sweet. And I really like what's happening to the structure as well. I think the structure of the wine, the texture of the wine, is maybe fleshing out and coming together a bit. When this was really young, like 2 or 3 years ago, it was super light and rather lean, and I think now it's actually achieving maybe a little bit more harmony. So it's nice to see.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, because really I can see that in all orange wines that are well made, well done, that they improve with time. If they are not well done, they just disappear. So in this case, I am quite satisfied with the evolution or the development of this wine. Would anybody like to add something to Simon? What are your impressions on this wine? Yeah, Frank, please.
I have to say that as a general comment, that I really enjoy aromatic varieties in this orange wine category. We'll have a few other ones when we come to the Austrian wines. So in this wine too, it's not that the wine is showing any of the Traminer character that we know from young and fruity wines, but the Traminer complexity, the Traminer perfumed character, it is there, and again the glass is doing wonders to actually lift that sensation, to lift that aroma. So the nose is actually very interesting. I mean, you would always recognize the Traminer in this wine, even if it's not a varietal wine. It's only 70%, but still. And on the palate is actually the same thing. You've got the structure, there's the acidity, there is a light phenolic sensation, but the aromatic substance of the two varieties is still very present. And it's actually really, again, a lovely wine, and showing very, very well in this glass.
Thank you very much. I would just like to remark that for me, the telltale of Devin as a variety is the apricot. I mean, fresh apricot, stewed apricot, dried apricot. You always can find the apricot nose and apricot taste in Devin. Whenever you have Devin, you can catch this as aromatics. Okay, so just because of the shortage of time, we will now pass to Austrian wines, and unless anybody else would like to have a remark on the last wine.
Sorry, Edita.
Yes? Please, Maurizio.
Yes, one little comment with the two wine.
Go ahead.
Because I think the wine weighs in combination with a food or with a moment, and the previous wine is very like a brandy, and is the final of the dinner of the night. But I think that this characteristic with the distillated, with the good rancio, is very interesting in combination with the important course with truffle, white meat and truffle is all dried fruit. Is fantastic. And the last wine is better in combination with a lot of course, a lot of food. But this a sense of vegetable, of quinoa, of the aromatic vegetable is very interesting with the first course or the meals, because is a little techniques and very persistent. Two
Yes.
wine, very interesting. The good combination with my glasses.
Sure. Yes, sure, I agree. Thank you very much, Maurizio, for this remark. I absolutely agree with you. And as I am a great lover of all the sherry or rancio, especially rancio is my favorite style, very old-fashioned rancio. So thank you very much to make this point. And also the combination with food, because I think orange wines are great for gastronomy. You can make different combinations that are really extraordinary. And if you have a good glass to enhance the character of the wine, so then it's just the perfect match. Do you agree, Maurizio, as a sommelier?
Yes, this wine sometimes is our win in combination when we have some food that is not good for the white, is not good for the red wine. And in case of combination, the fish and meat, the homemade pasta stuffed with the veal, but the tripe of the very complicated food, this wine is our best friends.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Before we pass to Austrian wines, just one word from Elizabeth, because she knows the producer of the last wine. We visited together Slobodné vinárstvo, you know the family, and you have tasted through a whole range of Slobodné, so just, I know it's complicated without wine, but anyway.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the largest tastings I'd done at the end of the day, but we just got so excited by the wines. Very interesting what Simon said, because I tasted wine 2 years ago, and as Simon said, it was very fresh, very fruity, almost muscatty, quite a simple but a beautifully structured wine. But we also tasted the 2014, which had some of this complex flavor that you're talking about with the 2016 now, but definitely did not get the range of flavors that you were all talking about. So it does sound as though the glass is bringing out far more complexity. I really do like these. Cutis Deviner is one of my from Slobodny, and the rosé.
Of course. Okay, thank you very much. I would like to pass the words to Georg. So we will now taste through the 4 samples from Burgenland, the orange wines from Burgenland. So Georg, please, can you explain?
Yeah, thank you very much, Edita. So this slide shows the map of Burgenland. So Burgenland is on the far east side of Austria. Austria in total is about 45,000 hectares, and Burgenland area is roughly 14,000 hectares on top. So we cover, let's say, 1/3 of the area, and unlike the rest of Austria, we have more red wine than white wine. So we are the red wine corner of Austria, and Blaufränkisch and Zweigelt being the main varieties here. Interestingly, talking about orange wines, there are 2, maybe 3 regions which are really working on this orange wine category. The one is really down in the south called Eisenberg, where we will have 1 wine today. And the other one is the region of Leiterberg and neighboring Neusiedlersee region, which is bordering to Hungary and Slovakia. So this is the thing we have in common here. The main varieties on the white side are Grüner Veltliner and Welsch Riesling. And Welsch Riesling is that variety where most of the orange wine is done from. together with the, let's call it more tasty varieties like Traminer, Sauvignon Blanc, you name it. So as we are in the warmest region, a lot of wineries are organic or biodynamic, and we will have 4 of those wineries now show up. Maybe you switch to the next slide. Let's start with the first wine. So the first wine in the glass is a wine called Stratos Mesh 2018. So I have it here in front of mine. This comes from the southern part of Burgenland, a region called Eisenberg. Actually, it's coming from the small city called Rechnitz, which is just on the footstep of the highest hill in Burgenland area. So the vineyards for this wine are going up, exactly, it's the other one, yes. The vineyards for this wine are going up to about 450 meters above sea height. And this wine is a blend between equal portion of Welsh Riesling and Pinot Blanc, or Weißburgunder as we normally call it. The soil is pure schist. You see it on the picture on the slide here. It's coming from a single vineyard. It's fermented on skins for 12 days. It's aged on the cross lees in neutral oak cask for about 12 months. It's unfiltered, unfined, no sulfur added. So, and I think coming back to the very beginning, when you defined about what is orange wine all about, I think due to the phenolics in the skins you get during the vinification process, you don't need that much sulfur. And this is one of the big advantages in the wines in there. And I think none of those wines, if you smell those wines, you can really smell a sulfur note in there. As said, it's a blend between Welsh Riesling and Pinot Blanc, so we get a quite good acidity level on this wine. It's unfiltered. You can see it on the cloudiness of this wine, and for me, it has got a hint of nuttiness, so a touch of oxidized appeal in here, but on the palate, for me, it's a really nice, rounded, even a little bit creamy wine with a lively acidity, a touch of citric approach, and the phenolics, the bitterness in the back is lifting the wine till the end for a very elegant finish. But I would like to let others comment on this wine. Okay, so would you like to comment on this wine, Frank? As you know very well Burgenland, especially thanks to the Wine Academy in Rust.
True,
what's your opinion?
I do. I love this wine. This is one of my favorites. It's not showing a lot on the nose. It's quite closed. You recommended to decant the wine, which I didn't. But I did open the bottle earlier this afternoon. Tried it. I have to say that it's now in my glass for 1.5 hours. Doesn't make a big change in the nose, but the real surprise is on the palate, and it's a very refreshing, elegant, lighter style of wine compared to many of the others here. But I love it for that. It's very drinkable, very refreshing. It's very light-footed, and yeah, I really enjoy it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Simon?
I'm really enjoying this. It's got that sort of airy spaciousness that Weißburgunder can do so well. I think exactly as Georg was saying, this lovely sort of open, creamy texture, and just a little bit of that tanginess, that spiciness coming from the skins of the Welsh Riesling. It's a lovely wine. A little bit of this. I get a little bit of this kind of struck match thing on the nose too. It's almost like a sort of a step away from a sort of white Burgundy in some ways. People might think I'm crazy for saying that, but that's the association that I make. Very elegant wine.
Okay, perfect. Maurizio, what do you think about this wine?
But the particularity of this wine is the elegance. Because it's very light. I think that in 5 wines. This is we can serve this wine too cold, and we are the very potentiality with the aperitif, with the first course, and because it's very interesting with the elegance, the equilibrium, a light tannic sense, but very fruity, very vegetable, very interesting wine.
Thank you very much. So, unless anybody else would like to make a remark, we can pass to the wine number 2. Yeah. Georg?
Yeah. So the wine number 2 in this lineup from the Austrian side is a wine from the region of Leiterberg. It's coming from the winery Birgit Braunstein in Purbach. As you can see, she is Demeter, and just recently she joined the organization La Raison in France from the Loire Valley, from Nicolas Joly. She's saying she's working in conjunction with the cosmic constellations, so she's biodynamic and really biodynamic. And what especially on this area, Purbach and Donauskirchen, just beside the city, is the limestone and the shell limestone, which is in the soil. And they always have got this minerality in the wines, even in the orange wines, which is quite well transported by the skin fermentation. So these wines are old wines, like 40 years, biodynamic. It's about 15 days on maceration on the full yeast in 500 liters of Austrian oak. So it's coming from the region of Mannersberg in the Lower Austria. No sulfur during the whole process, just at the finishing when the bottling was done, a little bit of sulfurization up to 20 milligrams per liter on this wine. It's 100% Sauvignon Blanc. And if somebody thinks of, yeah, that's clear Sauvignon Blanc, like the New Zealand Sauvignons or something like this, I think it's a little bit different, because in the nose, it doesn't shine in the very, very first moment, the Sauvignon Blanc, just in the second, at least for me. But we've got this grassiness in there. We've got a lot of this bell pepper, but a touch of honey, a touch of vanilla I get in there, and especially on the palate. What I like most is this really dry style of this wine with a quite rounded body. The phenolics are really lifting the palate in the middle, and the finish is quite fresh again. So I think this is enough to say about this wine from my side. The others should comment on this one, please.
Does Simon start commenting on this wine?
I really enjoy the fruit character of this wine as it opens up, actually, and for me it's a good example. I was very interested listening to what Georg was saying, because a lot of people say that if you skin ferment white grapes, then they don't express the variety anymore, and I think that's nonsense. And the thing is, we don't expect a red grape to show the same characteristics when it's made as a rosé versus being made as a red wine with full skin contact. And of course, it's the same with white grapes. So I think once you learn to recognize Sauvignon Blanc in its skin fermented guise, this has a great deal of typicity. And I get sort of something close to mango or really, really ripe red grapefruit in there. It needs oxygen, but as it starts to open, it's packed full of fruit. And I love this kind of quite chunky texture, quite chunky tannins that are underpinning the whole thing. So it's definitely a wine it's a little closed, as Georg says. As you first approach it, it's a bit sulky, but give it time and it's really starting to show nicely.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. As I've just noticed that I am now in the role of the taster, Georg, for you. So I just would like to add that for me, it is a great expression of Sauvignon Blanc, really expressing this Muschelkalk or shell limestone soils. And for me, this great floral nose with honeysuckle that was opening with time. It was something really expressive, and it's very pungent, slightly oxidative and spicy, but with a lot of summer apple and apple pie. aftertaste and very up to Apfelstrudel notes with cloves and cinnamon and light vanilla touch. For me, it's very pleasing and classy wine. Really great expression of Sauvignon Blanc. I would not expect this from Sauvignon Blanc. Everybody's used to this New Zealand kind of Sauvignon Blanc, but this is for me a wine. So what do you think, Frank?
Well, I do not have so much to add to what has been said already. I think in the nose it's still, but I to be honest, I begin to suspect that my bottle has a small cork problem, which I didn't notice before. But the longer the wine is in the glass, the more apparent it becomes. But I did notice. I do notice that the wine has length, and that the varietal character of Sauvignon Blanc is showing in the finish of the wine. And what I really like in the wine is that indeed that very sort of whetstone, flint character that is very noticeable and really lifts the wine up at the finish. Yeah. It's a very, very good wine, but I'm not surprised. Birgit Braunstein knows how to make good wine.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Maurizio, what do you think? This is not a kind of Sauvignon Blanc from Italy that you're used to, or from New Zealand. This is an Austrian approach. What do you think?
I agree that this is very classy wine, and the very interesting note is that this wine is very luminous and very concentrated, the color, but is the very interesting wine. Probably the maceration with the skin, the contact with the skin, lost the characteristics of the Sauvignon Blanc. But is very interesting wine. Is one wine with the little tannic in the final, very fruity, very full body wine, and is a very interesting combination with a food with this, because it's good the good meat with good meat, but fish roasted. Wow, this is very elegant wine.
Thank you very much. Okay, Georg, wine number 3.
Yeah, so wine number 3 comes from the winery Pasla in Joyce, which is again on the Leiterberg region, Leiterberg range, where, as Frank mentioned before, the minerality, it was really visible in the Sauvignon Blanc before, is there as well. But now we talk about Traminer in this wine. So we had a Traminer before from Slovakia. Now this is a Traminer from Austria. It's again shell limestone here. It's fermented for 3 weeks on the mesh in the wooden open tanks. 12 months on lees with occasionally stirring, unfiltered. And what I like most is the nose on this wine, especially with this glass. I think this does perfectly. It's a perfect fit for this wine. A lot of floweriness is there, exotic, lychee, a touch of grapefruit, and on the palate. It shows a really good balance between the acidity, the fruit level, and for me the texture is really smooth on this wine, so I like it very much. And the ending gives you a lift of exotic again. So this is, for me, it's a fantastic approach for Traminer in an orange style.
Yes, absolutely, I agree. The other tasters, please. Frank first. Oh, thank you very much.
Well, again, the glass is really helping for the aromas, and it's in your face Traminer straight away. But you know where Traminer sometimes can be a bit dull in the finish, sometimes lacks acidity, becomes a bit too heavy. This wine is so refreshing, so There's so much acidity and again that salty mineral sensation in the end. It is indeed a great expression of Traminer. Wonderful wine.
Yes, yes, I absolutely agree. Before I pass the word to Simon, I just would like to add that for me, I think from the enological point of view, these varieties, aromatic varieties, and these that contain a lot of terpenic compounds, it helps the wine not to filter, not to fine, because they are losing this opportunity to develop with time. Because really, I can feel something that that is my idea about Traminer. That really has all the soil, all the soul of the grape variety, all the texture, structure, complexity. It is so multi-layered that really this cloudiness that some people are just embarrassed and they think, oh, can we allow these wines to be legal on the market? I think this is also helping the wine to develop all the intrinsic qualities. So I would just would like to remind everybody to come back to the roots and to think about the stability of wine. If we have this, look how the wine can develop in bottle. You can get something that you never have tasted before. This is my impression from this wine. What do you think, Simon?
I really love the purity of this wine. It's so expressive. It's so pure. The fact that it's been made with no added sulfites at all. I think obviously very high quality fruit went into this wine. Very interesting. This is a winery that I don't know, and I gather this is a line that's being made by the younger generation at Passler. So I'm definitely going to investigate more because this is just the aromatic expressiveness of it. There's one thing that interests me. Maybe Georg will know the answer to this. I mean, in my experience, a lot of Austrian winemakers are a little bit vague when they say Traminer. Sometimes it means they've got Rota Traminer, sometimes it means they've got Gelber Traminer, sometimes it means they've got Gewürz, or sometimes it's all three. And so I'm curious what was in here, because this, for me, is so in your face with the aromatics, which I like. I'm wondering if there is actually a bit of Gewürz, or even whether it's all Gewürz.
Yes, great point, Simon. Yes, great point, Georg. So, can you respond?
Yeah, you're right. I fully agree that Traminer or Gewürztraminer, sometimes in Austria, yeah, the usual style used to be sweet style wine, because then the flavor and the palate fits much better together. And there are just a couple of dry Traminer existing, and the people are a little bit hesitant due to the vineyard. The variety is a little bit sensible, let's put it like this. And sometimes it's either too fruity or it's too less of acidity in there. So the people are really hesitant with this variety. And I think this style we have in the glass in front of us, this is really the one to show what you can do with Traminer if you do it in a proper way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I agree. Maurizio, what do you think? Gewürztraminer is also very popular in Italy, especially the northern part. What do you think? Did you like this one?
In the north of Italy, but is the expression of the Gewürztraminer in Italy is a very different of this.
Yes.
I don't know some maturation with the skin in the Alto Adige and South Tyrol, but for me the difference with the previous is about the characteristic of the Traminer. In this wine are very present. And the surprise in the testing is that to the nose, it seems very mature and little sweet. But in the mouth, instead, it's very dry, decisive, savory. This is the characteristic of this wine, and a grand persistence. It's very interesting. I like this wine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry we have to move to wine number 4, but then we can come back to all the wines. So, Georg, please, can you explain what we have in the glass number 4?
Yes, of course. So in the glass number 4, again, a wine from the region of Leiterberg, a quite traditional grape for Austria, Muscat Ottonel, which belongs to the Muscat family. With this wine, again, fermented on the skins plus on the stems. So it was the whole bunch taken. And I think when you taste the wine, you can see that the phenolics are even more evident than compared to the other wines before. The muscat aroma as such, there is this grapiness. There's a lot of, I would say, even types of reductiveness in this wine, interestingly. What's normally the case with Muscat Ottonel is that it lacks on acidity. But when you taste this wine, there is no feeling of lacking acidity. It's just enough acidity to make the wine really nice, drinkable. It has got the typical Muscat aroma in a very dry style. And a lot of Muscat Ottonel in Austria, which is done on a dry style is, let's say, considered to be the better choice. Normally they do a Spätlese or Auslese. And I think especially for this variety, Muscat Ottonel, the skin fermentation is a big advantage because it gives you this fruitiness, but it gives you as well the structure with the phenolic components, not making it flabby as a lot of Muscat Ottonel can be. So for me, this is again a very good expression of Muscat Ottonel in a skin fermented way. It's cloudy, it's unfiltered, it's not sulfured, and the phenolics from the stems are really lifting the texture on the palate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Just a remark, it was wine number 4. That's a little mistake in the presentation. Okay, so what is your opinion on this wine? Frank, can you start?
There's one thing I noticed about the nose of this wine, where most of the wines open up while being in the glass and actually are improving in the nose. This wine is doing a bit the reverse move for me. It was very expressive when I poured it. There was a lot of muscat character on the nose, and that has really gone down a bit by now. On the palate, nothing, no problem. On the palate, it is clearly muscat. It's got a lovely structure. It's quite full-bodied, and indeed there is like all these wines actually, there is a very energetic freshness, acidity that gives the wine character, length, and quality. Basically, it adds to the balance of the wine. So apart from the nose by now, but it's a lovely wine on the palate again.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Frank. Simon?
Yeah, I agree with Frank about that. Actually, yeah, it's if anything starting to shut down a bit. I mean, it's definitely made in quite a reductive style, which I know is something that Martin and Adriana like to do. The thing that strikes me about this wine, there's so much in the texture there. It's so kind of spicy and nutty. I really want to see this wine again in about 2 or 3 years' time. I almost feel that it's a teenager right now. If that, it really needs a bit more time to get itself together, because it's all the building blocks are there. But I think it feels a little closed to me today. But I think it's going to be fantastic if anyone still has a bottle in 2025.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, it was the same impression for me, a little bit reduced, but maybe needs more time. It sometimes happens with Muscat grape varieties for this style. And what about Maurizio? What do you think about this wine?
Yes, Edith, I think that this wine is generally an example of what the people think on when they think of the orange wine. Because sometimes this reduction note is present in the orange wine. I agree that it has lost a little during the tasting, and with a note of the reduction then close the wine. But usually in Italy, this is the characteristic of the expectation of the people. I think that this wine can, during some year, endure some year ago, but I think all wine that we tested this night can stay in the bottle a long time, a very long time. Probably all wine can during a very long time.
Yes, I
Long
agree.
time, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry for my English.
No, it's perfect. Thank you very much, Maurizio. Just maybe to add, I don't know if you have the same impression. All the wines develop with time, so that you can feel more the phenolics that we probably have not noticed that much at the beginning. It was the floral, fruity character, and now the phenolics are more present, but in a positive way of thinking. So I agree absolutely that all these wines have a long life, long bottle life in front of them. So this is everything for this afternoon. I would like to thank all the participants, and I would like to ask all of you to say a few words. What is your impression of this tasting and the combination of Slovakian orange wines, the orange wines from Burgenland, from Austria, in combination with this special orange wine glass? So I would like to start with Georg, my friend and my counterpart from Austria. Georg, please.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to be part of this tasting here, because just looking on the glasses, on the lineup of the glasses here, the different colors in the glass, it's amazing already, and you can see what differences you can do when you do orange wine, and really transport the terroir, the place, the sense of place, and transport the variety as well. So all of the wines are really, really exciting. I totally agree. They do have a lot of time in the bottle. So it would be interesting to taste this like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. And my personal belief on the glasses, which I like very much, by the way, is especially the varieties which are really tasty, fruity. They really shine up in these glasses, together with the varieties having a little bit higher acidity. So on the palate, it gives a little bit better structure and more evidence of the variety and freshness of the wine. So I like it very much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Frank, please. A conclusion, Frank. Thank you.
My conclusion is the glasses have done a perfect job, and what they I mean, again, you know, a lot of orange wines are usually like a bit of fruit in the nose, which is not always easy for people to understand. But what these glasses do very well is lift the fruit on the nose. So I don't know, maybe that orange wine purists do not find that very important, but I think generally speaking, for general consumers, it is important that you get the fruity character of the grape in the nose as well. And these glasses are really perfect for that.
Thank you very much. Simon?
Yeah, I agree. It's been a pleasure to taste the wines from these glasses. I think it just brings out the aromatics as well. It's also really nice to see wines from these two regions. As I said at the beginning, I think Burgenland and the neighbouring parts of Slovakia, it's some of the most exciting parts of the world at the moment for these kind of wines. And yeah, the variety and the quality is impressive.
Okay, thank you very much, Simon. And last but not least, because we would like to finish these explanations with Maurizio, but I would like to ask Elizabeth, because she has already the orange wine glasses, but she didn't have the samples that we did. So what is your impression? How these glasses work with the wine you had?
Well, just to say, I had the good fortune to be the panel chair for the orange wines last year at the Danube Wine Challenge. And I'm just looking through my notes now, and aromatics really didn't feature. We very much texture. So very possibly if we had judged with these glasses, we would have been far more enthusiastic about some wines. And the wine I've got, I didn't have any orange wine where I live. I don't, well, horror, I don't have much orange wine, any orange wine in my cellar, but I have a pink vermouth sherry because I thought something that was very aromatic. And it's pretty explosive in the glass. It's really come out beautifully. Whereas before I concentrated very much on the taste, this glass has really brought out vast amounts of complex aromas. So yeah, I'm so far, I mean, I only got the glasses half an hour before we started, so I haven't yet experimented very much, but so far very impressed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I can promise that next year in June for Danube Wine Challenge competition, we will be tasting from these glasses. It was meant for this year's competition that normally should have been held since tomorrow. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, it couldn't be. So next year we will be tasting from these glasses. And as you know, Danube Wine Challenge is an OIV competition. So we have to follow the OIV rules, but this category, orange wines, we have put beyond OIV rules. So we will do comparative tasting, not the consecutive tasting, because I think for orange wines, this is very important because they can develop with time and you can compare, but of course not under the OIV rules. So for the moment, I hope this could be a very attractive category also for orange winemakers to compare, to present their wines among the competition from all over the world in these special glasses. And I would like Maurizio to tell the final conclusion. How did you like this selection of orange wines? How they worked with your glasses?
Thank you, Edita. Thank you to everyone, because I'm very happy because in these glasses, every type of wine maintained their identity, and I'm really moved to hear the feedback to these important people in the world of wine. Very thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Maurizio. And now, we would like to thank all our speakers. And we would like to make a final toast. We would like to invite you for the next masterclass. You will see the titles after this toast. I would like to present you the president of our wine competition, Danube Wine Challenge, Igor Stumpf, and the director of Chateau Béla, Mr. Jürgen Grube. And we would like to make a toast with a special wine. It is Chateau Béla Rizling 2015. And we would like to show that these glasses work perfectly with old Rizling. And this is really an iconic chateau and an iconic wine from this winery. And this is a special day for Slovakia and for the former Czechoslovakia, because 17th of November 1989 is the day of the Velvet Revolution, and this is the day of liberty. And orange wines, they are expression of liberty. So thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Cheers,
and
everybody.
Be free, be
Cheers.
free.
Cheers. Cheers.
See you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.
And
see you
thank you,
next
Edita,
time.
again.
See you next time.